Okay, so this is a quick heads up about Nature Renderer. And my initial impressions were about a 3, but having played with it, especially with Quixel Megascans and Book of the Dead, I've realised it's a 5-star. And the reason is the Nature Renderer shader gives you moving trees with Quixel Megascans, which is amazing. There's a number of things that smack you in the face and you a bit upsetting. The first thing is you only get one tree, one grass model with it, and it immediately tries to upsell you to its £51 nature kit with all sorts of other things on top of it. Plus the fact it's not going to give you volumetric lighting and sun flares. Light flares. So what do you get with it? The most important thing is you get the shader, but you don't get the flowers. So it's all very well talking about more detail and all this, but they don't give you the flowers, which I think is, or any of this. So you need to get Megascans or Book of the Dead. And the colour correction is kind of, well, you can do that anyway. This, you can get quite good results anyway, although having said that, the shadows, that's another feature, but the shadow on the grass and 3D meshes for details, that is very, very cool. So shadowing is great. Yeah, they cover that there. And just adding it, the component is okay, but nothing special, and it doesn't give you light beams either, so I don't know where that's come from. I am very firmly in standard RP until they strip it away from me. I'm not interested in the other ones until it's more stable. But you do get better performance and graphics from the others, but that's not for me. You're welcome to explore that, and maybe this also is more use for that as well. Another thing to mention is that you really need to get hold of this. It's gone up in price now. It used to be free. This is the Book of the Dead shader update for standard pipeline. It's going to be a struggle. If this becomes unavailable or you can no longer get Book of the Dead, you can get Quixel Megascans Forests. That's another 50 quid. It all adds up. And this Nature Manufacturer is also a pretty cool one. I think I got this. I mean, I grab these. Any of these I grab as and when they turn up in on like Black Friday sales, and saying that there's a spring sale starts soon, so if I click on that, maybe I'll open a new tab. And yeah, so we've got Landscape Auto Material, which is going to be 100 quid off, so it's going to be about 10 quid. I'll be getting all sorts of things. I'll be getting city stuff because I'm interested in city. I'll be getting the gift thing, I'll get the video thing, I'll get this city thing, but Tropical Jungle is another one to get whilst it's cheap. So that one, Landscape Auto Material on April the 20th. I will keep reminding people because, well, I just grab everything I can that when it's on big sales. Humble Bundle's a good place to check out. They've got a deal on icons at the moment. Good for fantasy stuff and user interface design. So moving back to this, it wasn't that easy to set up. To talk about the setup for this, you import it in. You on your terrain, you add the Nature Renderer script and add the grass to the grass. I've added a whole new tree. You get one tree, which is an oak tree, which is fine, but it's nothing particularly special, and it's a bit of a slap in the face if you spent full 40 quid and you get one tree. It's a bit of a sour taste. Luckily, we've got other options for getting hold of trees. So we've got our standard assets tree, which you can get from the standard assets, which is only, as far as I'm aware, I think you can still get it. They keep changing their mind, but it's all incompatible with everything. So you've got to chop out all bits and pieces that cause compiler errors. So you add the nature render script to the terrain, and then you get this info thing. It says get 3D models, which is just trying to upsell you to the other thing, which is, that whole thing is just, that's just high pressure marketing. It's very silly to do that because it just upsets people with you immediately trying to sell them other stuff, because it highlights what's not available in this one. Anyway, that's their business, not mine. Rendering, I've increased the detail distance to 250, which causes a huge performance hit. The streaming business is all about trying to optimize and cull various things and also add the stream processor limit. One is 100%, which is 4 processors in use. You've basically got to ramp that up as much as you can. What else is there? Game. You need to create a game object called post, or you call it what you like, and you add a post-process volume for the post-processing profile they give, which is a number of things. The motion blur doesn't impress anyone doing that. It's purely to try and hide frames per second and turning problems. Just upsets people to do stuff like that. You on top of that, so you add the post-process volume, you name it post-processing layer, this object, and I also added the global wind script which you get, and then I just stuck a wind zone in. I created a wind zone over here, which was main 1, turbulence 0.01, pulse magnitude 0.1, pulse frequency 0.01. I created, this is the oak tree that you get, and I scaled it 555, try and keep it to it's about the right sort of size to make it look interesting and not boring. Straight out of the box, this whole thing, the whole package is pretty unimpressive. It's only when you start diving deep into it that you realise how impressive it is. And the impressive thing, like I say, is the ability to take a bush. Let's open that. Go into LOD and the material, and we changed the bark is up to you. It doesn't really matter, but the leaves is super important. Change it to this shader. If I bring that down, there is a wind option, and you've got baked vertex colours which works on some, or you can change it to UV or vertex position. And you've got 3 chances to get the models to work. And what happens is you basically get to breathe life into your bushes. I could increase the wind factor, but I really like subtle wind effects. I need a sound effect crunch when you walk through these bushes. But that's another issue. And it's that if you've gone through the rest of the course, you'll realise just how amazing it is to get megapixel pictures in Book of the Dead to actually breathe into life. That's very cool. So what else did I do? Let's get out of that. I added an uplight, like I've done in other things. Let's bring up directional light. Bounce light below the tech thing, which doesn't cast any shadows, just to try and add a bit of uplight, which kind of recreating radiosity and light bounce. What else have we done? Put the footstep system in, the first person controller. In the first person controller, we've got a camera. The camera has a post-processing layer, which connects to the post-processing layer, which is created in that game object post-processing layer. The other thing we've done is put in an area light, and this is just because I was having difficulty because of all the shadows and everything. The ground was getting very dark, and so the best way I found for doing that was to stick in an area light, connect it to the first person controller. So the details, that just provides a little bit of light so we can actually see the textures and stuff. It's not just dark. The grass texture really need to change to the forest texture, which I'll probably provide the textures here for people in this lesson as well, just so you can get them quickly. And yeah, one of the problems we found now is that they've deprecated Book of the Dead. It seems as if they're just rushing to deprecate everything, and which I find baffling, to be honest, because it was designed to show off the high render pipeline, and yet they've shut, they're kind of kicking away the ladder all the time. They show you this amazing stuff, and then they just say, well, they don't support it anymore, and it all breaks because they're rushing to the next version. So there is still a pathway for now to get the Book of the Dead. Well, there's two pathways. You either get hold of this one, new textures and standards for just look for Book of the Dead. It's now costing £5, or you just buy the megapixels forest, which I think is about 50 quid, 60 quid. But if you're watching this in April 2020 and you haven't got Book of the Dead already, you're missing the boat. This is why I provide a lot of these lectures available for free preview, because you've got to grab the assets whilst you can, because they just get deprecated and disappear, and then you lose massive amounts of functionality. I think it's the biggest weakness of Unity is the lack of curation of old assets. They just bin them, and you can still get the standard assets from getting the long-term support for now for 2017 and 2018. So that's at least that's available for now. But this constant rush for the latest, greatest, and just burn everything else, I think is such bad news, because it reminds me of Flash and how they used to do all that as well. It's constant version problems and version control and upgrade to the latest, and people just gave up. Although now it's called, I think, animation in uses HTML5. But it would be like releasing a new version of HTML every year and expecting everyone to only use the latest. I think it's a real problem. But anyway, very excited, very happy to get moving bushes, to be honest. Happier than I should be. It's just such a relief, really, and it all just by getting hold of this nature renderer. It may be possible to build a shader in Amplify or Shader Forge that does it, but just having it off the shelf like that, and that will work. Let's have a look, see if that's actually moving. Sometimes it just moves the ground. No, that's amazing. Yeah, fantastic. But now we're going to have to start looking for other sources of trees and materials. One of which is going to be, like I say, if I pause this, it's going to be tab out. We've got some loading issues and not terrifically fast. So the other thing is to get hold of this landscape auto material on April the 20th, and this tropical jungle pack of April the 28th. That's going to help, although that is kind of tropical, but it gives you some assets to deal to at a reasonable price. See, for me, I just think that those assets, that's too much money. I think this nature renderer should come with a few more assets than it does, because it doesn't come with any of that. It doesn't come with these. It comes with one tree. It doesn't come with any of those trees either. It comes with an oak tree and some very generic looking grass. That one. It doesn't even come with the boulder. You know, so you put these pictures up, but you don't even provide the boulder. So I think I'd knock down 1 star from that, so that goes down to 4 star. And the only reason I give it such a high rating is because the render that you use. I'll give you an example. In here, open. Yeah, got GP instance, so that I also need to update and use. But the open world texture tree leaves for the leaves is just amazing. That provides a wind option that allows you to choose between baked, UV and vertex position. Fantastic. So that gives it to a 4 star in my opinion. And that was just a very quick look at Nature Renderer. I think it's a little bit pricey for the money, and but look out for it in sales, and if you can get it on a sale for like a 10 or a £5, definitely worth it.